The old train station stood quiet under the fading evening light, its rusted tracks stretching like forgotten memories across the land. People walked past it every day, never knowing the stories buried beneath its peeling paint and cracked wooden benches. But one story, one promise, still lived in the heart of a man named Daniel, who returned to that station after 60 long years. Daniel's hands trembled as he walked across the dusty platform. He wasn't the young man he once was. His hair had turned silver, his shoulders carried the weight of decades, and his voice was softer now. But his heart remembered everything. Every word, every tear, every promise made in that very place. He sat on the old bench, the same one where he once held Anna's hands. The memory drifted back like a warm breeze from the past. He was 18 then, full of dreams, hope, and love. Anna was 17, a girl with laughter brighter than sunlight and eyes that could silence every storm. They grew up in the same small town, met at the same train station after school, and planned a life together far from the shadows of war. But then, the soldiers came. The war took sons, fathers, brothers, and plans. Daniel had no choice. He was drafted. The night before he left, he called Anna to the train station. She ran to him, breathless, tears already on her cheeks. He held her close, trying to memorize the warmth of her body, the scent of her hair, the softness of her trembling hands. He promised her two things: that he would return, and that he would marry her right there at the train station the moment the war ended. Anna held his face and whispered that she would wait as long as it took, even if it meant waiting forever. The train arrived, blowing smoke into the night air. Daniel boarded with a heart torn in two. Anna stood on the platform, waving until the train disappeared into the darkness. He carried her memory like a flame, through every battlefield, every cold night, and every fear that tried to break him. But war is cruel. Letters stopped coming. Friends fell one by one. Daniel was injured, shifted from unit to unit, torn from place to place. When the war finally ended, he returned home with hope burning through his chest. He rushed to Anna's house, desperate to see her. But she was gone. Her family had moved away. No address, no explanation, nothing but a note left behind. One sentence written in her familiar handwriting: "Meet me at our train station when the war ends." Daniel ran. He didn't stop until he reached the platform. But she wasn't there. He waited the whole day, the whole night. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. He sat on the bench every morning, searching every passing face, hoping for hers. But Anna never came. The world moved on. Daniel worked, grew older, built a life, but he never married. A part of him always stayed at that station, holding on to the last promise they made. Now, 60 years later, he returned for a reason even he didn't fully understand. Maybe for closure. Maybe for peace. Maybe because the heart never forgets its first and truest love. As he sat there, his old hands brushing the wooden bench, a young woman approached him. She looked hesitant, a folded letter clutched in her hand. "Sir, are you Daniel Carter?" Daniel lifted his head, surprised that anyone still knew his name. "Yes," he replied gently. The girl smiled with emotion in her eyes. "My grandmother asked me to find you." Daniel's heart froze. Then the young woman handed him the letter, her fingers trembling. Daniel unfolded the paper, and his breath caught in his throat. It was Anna's handwriting, shaky, older, but unmistakably hers. He read the letter slowly, the words shaking his soul. My dear Daniel, if you are reading this, then I am no longer in this world. I waited for you. I waited many years. I went to the station every week, even when my hair turned gray and my steps grew weak. I never stopped believing you would return. But life kept pulling me away. My health grew worse, and I could no longer walk to the station. I always hoped you would come back one day. And if you ever returned, I wanted you to know this. I never broke my promise. I waited. I waited for you, Daniel. Always. Daniel's eyes filled with tears that blurred the ink on the paper. The girl sat beside him, her voice trembling as she spoke. She talked about you her whole life. She never loved anyone else. She wanted me to bring this letter here because she believed you would come back someday. Daniel closed his eyes. For a moment, he felt young again. Standing under the moonlight, holding Anna's hands, listening to her say she would wait forever. He whispered, Anna, I'm sorry. I came back. I just came too late. The wind carried his voice down the tracks, as if sending it straight to her. The young woman gently placed her hand over his. She loved you, she said softly. She really did. Daniel nodded, wiping his tears. And I loved her. More than anything. The young woman reached into her bag and pulled out a small box. She wanted you to have this. Daniel opened it and found a silver ring. Simple, beautiful, untouched by time. A tiny note rested beneath it. For the wedding we never had. Daniel held the ring against his heart. For decades he had carried the weight of not finding her, but now he knew the truth. She had kept her promise until the very end. The sun dipped behind the horizon, casting a golden glow across the empty station. Daniel stood slowly, feeling a quiet peace settle inside him. The kind of peace he had searched for his entire life. He looked at the bench one last time and whispered, Goodbye, Anna. But as he turned to leave, something caught his eye. A woman stood at the far end of the platform, young, glowing, wearing a soft white dress. She smiled at him with the same warmth Anna used to. Daniel blinked, startled. For a moment he felt his heart stop. The girl's features, the eyes, the smile. She looked exactly like Anna did at 17. The young woman approached him, her steps light, her face gentle. I'm her granddaughter, she said with a smile that lit up the shadows. Daniel exhaled in relief and wonder. You look like her. She nodded. Everyone says that. They shared a quiet moment. The weight of years settling into something softer, something healing. The girl looked at the ring in Daniel's hand. She carried this her whole life, she said. It said she reminded her that true love never dies, it just waits. Daniel felt the burn of tears again, but this time they weren't from sadness. They were from gratitude. As the stars appeared, one by one, he felt Anna's presence around him. Not haunting, not painful, but gentle and warm, like a final embrace from the past. He slipped the ring onto his finger, and he whispered, I kept my promise too. I never loved anyone else. The young woman smiled softly, then nodded goodbye, and walked away into the fading light. Daniel took one last slow breath of the cool night air. The station, once a place of sorrow, now felt like a place of peace. A place where love had waited, silently, faithfully, for a lifetime. A love that waited. A love that endured. A love that never ended.